أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته والسلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. All praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Peace and salutations upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon the whole ummah and the mashaykhs. So inshallah today we'll talk about the final message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is the final message that Allah gave to us before the Quran wasn't revealed after that? So the final message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when somebody sends a final message, or somebody writes a book and then he puts a final message in the book, or the last paragraph is very, very important because it ends on this. So they might not remember the whole thing, or it's like a speech. You might not remember all of it, or you might remember the last sentence, the last part, which is very important. Like the Prophet ﷺ's final message as well, which was very, very important, because the final message is like a summary of the whole thing, the whole book. So imagine as well at the time, you know, when people die as well and they're on the last throes of their death, and then they deliver that final message to you, final nasiyah, oh my son, oh my daughter, do this, don't do that. So this is very, very important as well. Imagine at the time where Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahimullah, when they said the final goodbyes to their mother in search of knowledge and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what was the final message there? The final message was, don't lie, speak the truth always. So this was the final message from the mother of Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahimullah. So what is the final message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? But no other verses of the Quran will come after that last verse of the Quran. So the door of revelation and prophethood stopped with the beloved messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there was no ayah that came down from Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam. So Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam didn't come for that, but he did continue to meet the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to do the ziyarah and to do the khidmah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So according to the experts, according to the scholars, the final ayat is A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim Wattaqu yawman turja'una fihi ila Allah. And fear the day when you shall be brought back to Allah. So that's the first part of the ayat. And fear the day when you shall be brought back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second part, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim Thumma tuwaffa kullu nafsim ma kasabat wa hum la yudlamun. And every soul be paid for what it had earned, and none shall be dealt with unjustly. So whatever you have done in this world, wherever you have done, you have to answer for that in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is very fearful message in one way. To fear the day that you shall be brought back to Allah. Do we fear Allah? When we are committing our sins, poisoning our soul, do we fear Allah at that time? Remember, we should love Allah as well, but fear and love. We should fear Allah. Otherwise, if somebody says, I love Allah, and then, he can commit any kind of sins. He say, oh, Allah will forgive, or, I can do whatever I want. But that isn't the case, because that's why there is heaven and hell, isn't it? Otherwise, there would be no hell, just heaven. As, the most Christians believe in that Jesus, as they say, Hazrat Isa Islam took the sins upon his head, the humanity, the sins of the humanity upon their head. So wherever anybody has done anything wrong is fine, because he bore the consequences on the cross. That isn't the case, is it? Really. So Allah is merciful as well, but Allah also can punish. So we should have this in our minds as well. Have fear of Allah and have hope as well. So our mindset, the way our mind should be at this moment now is forget everything. Forget everything and think about that day and worry about that day and be afraid of that day. Fear the meeting with Allah. The day you have to return to Him, meaning death will come upon all of us. There's no hiding from death. Wherever you are, the death will come to you. And that reminds me of a story of Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, when there's this person came and he saw this person on the side. He was the angel of death, and he became fearful, and he said, take me to another country, because Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam had control of the winds. He says, take me to another country. So he took him to a far country. And that's the time his death came, and the angel of death took his life. And then he came back to Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, and he says that a strange matter occurred. He said, what is that? He says, Allah instructed me to take the life of this person so far away in this other country, and I'm thinking that how will he going to reach to the other country? So wherever you are, the moral of it is that wherever you are, whether you're here in the UK, or whether you're in Pakistan, or whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Australia, it doesn't matter where you're living here in the UK, you might not die here. Many people die somewhere else. But the fact of the matter that whether you're a Hindu, whether you're a Sikh, whether you're a Christian, or whether you fire worship, or whether you worship the sun, or the moon, or the stars, whatever. But one thing they can all agree on is that death is coming. Nobody will deny. No religion or no person will ever deny that death is going to come. Yeah, some people try to delay their death by using, vitamin pills, or they try to stop their age becoming old, meaning wrinkles on the face, by using these special creams and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, you can do whatever you want. There's many celebrities, they do spend millions of pounds on looking young, and not only looking young, try to eat healthy so they think they can prolong their death, but that's not the situation here. So Hazrat Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu ta'ala, when he would go to the grave, he would weep until his beard become wet. He would go, imagine we go to the graveyard today, what is our state? Do we even pay attention to the graves and the person? Do we reflect? Or do we just go there with your friends or family members, you chatting away as though you've gone to the park, having a laugh and a joke? You've seen funerals that are taking place, janazas are going and people are talking on the side, having a laugh and a joke, rather than they should be reflecting that, this is going to be me next, or maybe my time will come very soon. It might be me in that coffin being buried. So it's going to come. So deep reflection is needed. So it was said to him, you remember paradise and the hell, you do not weep, but you weep for this. So you remember paradise and hell, but you don't weep, but you weep being near the grave. He said, the Prophet ﷺ said, the grave is the first stage of the hereafter. Whoever is saved from it, what comes after it is easier. And if he's not saved from it, then what comes after is harder. So that's the first stepping stone in the hereafter. So if Allah forgives us, at that time in the grave, then it's bliss and blessings for that person. It's been mentioned by the Mashaykhs that when the person is forgiven, wherever his eyesight can see, whichever direction, it opens up that much. It becomes that vast. It's not what we see of the grave today. We look at that hole and we're only looking at it from this world of point of view. We're not looking from the other side, what's happening on the other side. And gardens and streams and meeting your beloveds who's been forgiven as well, and meeting the Prophet ﷺ. It's an amazing experience that the person will have when he dies from this world, when Allah has forgiven him. But it won't be an amazing experience for the person who Allah has not forgiven. Then his grave will even become tighter than what you can see. What you can visually see, it'll be even tighter than that. Up to the extent that the right shoulder will meet the left, it'll be squashed like this. And severe punishments for the person who will have to take. Today we can move our hand like this, we can move it there, wherever we want to move it. But in the grave, you don't have that freedom of will anymore. You cannot move your hand wherever you want to choose. It is not like that anymore. Your freedom of will has gone. So this is why, the people, the pious and the righteous, they feared this. They feared being away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They feared of the disconnection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That, am I disconnected with Allah? So, the Prophet ﷺ said, I've never seen any terrible scene, but the grave is more terrible. So we're just talking about the grave, but there's a time when Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam asked. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam asked the angel of death, could you show me the form that you would come in to a non-believer? And the angel of death mentioned that, I don't want to harm you in any way. You're a prophet of Allah. You're a very close prophet to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam insisted, and then the angel of death showed the form, and he became unconscious. Imagine that. The Prophet of Allah, one of the closest prophets to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he became unconscious. And it was mentioned by some of the scholars that when he came back, Hazrat Ibrahim al-Islam, he said that if there was no other punishment apart from seeing you at the time of death in this form, in this ghastly form, then there'll be enough punishment for this person. It doesn't need any other punishment of the hellfire or anything. This is enough punishment for this person. So that's just looking at Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam for people who commit sin, who don't repent, who are unbelievers. Imagine the form that they will see as the Israel alayhi salam, the angel of death. When we even say the angel of death, it's like it sends shivers down people's spines, the angel of death. So when a person reaches his grave as well, and the three questions he'll be asked, who is your Lord, which is the first one. It's not, everybody knows who your Lord is. Everybody, if I asked anybody now, they would say, yeah, my Lord is Allah. I worship Allah. But the actual question is like, did you get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while you was living in this world? How did you try? Did you try to get His closeness? That's the real question behind it. It's not a question where you're going in school, there's a Q&A saying that, who is your Lord? And then the second, what is your religion? So if I said to anybody now, what is your religion? They'll say, Islam is my religion. But again, that's not the real question. The real question is, did you follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Did you follow the deen that came down upon you? That Allah sent, did you follow that? And the third is, who is your prophet? Meaning, we know this, but then the real question is, did you follow the ways of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So even you might know the answer now, but if you have not followed that way, if you've not followed what Allah has sent down, if you have not followed the ways of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then in the grave you will forget as well. The person will forget. And then the angels of punishment will come for this person. So if he has followed this way, then the garden, his grave will become like a garden of paradise. So this is why they say that whenever you feel demotivated, you feel, oh, I've got no motivation, the dunya has got to me, people have got to me, I've been betrayed, whatever the situation, then our blessed teacher mentioned that go to the graveyard and reflect, and this will cut everything off. Whatever you thought was important won't be important anymore. So imagine, like, if you had a couple of days to live, a week to live, what would your priorities be? What would it be? Would you carry on living your life the way you're living right now, or would you change? So this is what he's saying, that would you change your ways at that time? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, whatever will help you on that day, worry about that now. Don't wait for 5 years or when I get a little bit older, when my finances are good, when I get a wife, I get married, then I will do it, or when I secure a job, then I will do it. No, don't wait for that day, because you ask the people of the grave, if you had the opportunity to ask somebody in the grave right now, they will say, I wish I didn't do this. I wish I spent more time in focusing on how to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing we need to change, if you want to become closer to Allah and worry about that day, the first thing we need to change is our friendship, the people that we chill out with, the people that we spend day and night with. Because either you're going to have good friends who will bring you to the masjid, or you're going to have bad friends who will take you towards the wrong things. So evil things like drugs, illicit relationships, drinking, all these things which are very, very common these days amongst the Muslims. So first thing you have to change is the friendship circle, because Just think, will these friends be of use to you or not? These days, people are betraying each other, left, right, and center. Whether it's your friend, whether it's your family members, it doesn't matter. They're just there. You're even afraid to take your car to a mechanic in case, you get defrauded. You're afraid to call a joiner to your house or a builder to your house in case they start a job and don't finish it. Yeah, it happens all the time. It's happened to me. It happens. This is life. And then your closest friends that you rely upon, oh, this is my brother, man, I'll do anything for him, I'll die for him, blah, blah, blah. And then when it comes to the crunch, he's not there for you. He's disappeared. He doesn't pick up his phone calls. Or when you ask him for a favor, he just disappears now. Because before it was all about him. He was selfish, all about myself. And then when somebody else wants help, he's not there for them. And trust me, people, that's why, the youngsters especially should sit with the elders. Somebody who's older than you. Learn about life experience. People who were born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and still here in the year 2024. Sit with them people. They were like that back in the day. Yeah, come on, gangs. They used to have gangs back in the day. And then if they used to have gang fights. So one gang, he's from this area, the other one's from this area. Let's go. Then they used to carry baseball bats and they used to go to the other area and batter the other lads. That's what they used to do. Yeah, that's how, I will die for you, we'll fight each other, this, that, and the other. But later on in life, when you get married and you have children, you have no time for each other. It's all your brothers, this is he's gone. Everybody's gone. And some people are not lucky to come out of this. When they have these fights or they're in a gang or whatever, what happens is some people don't come out of it alive. They die. You see this in London all the time. People getting stabbed, shot. So you got to have good friends who will help you to take you towards Jannah, take you towards that garden in the grave that we were talking about. Good friends, the ones who remind you of Allah. The ones who say, come on, let's go to the masjid, let's go to the Friday gathering. Let's go to this gathering, let's do some dhikr together. Let's stay away from these haram places. These are the people that you need to be around with. So we have young children here. As you're growing up, always remember this. Have always good friends with you. And you can see even your own brothers can betray you. Same with the story of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, when he had this dream, Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam, his father knew that his son was special, he's going to be a prophet. And then, because Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam used to give love, the other brothers used to get jealous. And then eventually they said to the father, we'd like to take Yusuf, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, to play. And then they were searching for a well, and they chucked him down the well and took his shirt, and then smeared some sheep blood on it and took it to the father and said, a wolf got him. But the point is here that your own brother and your family members and your uncles, they can all betray you. Only Allah, and the one who you become friends with for the sake of Allah and the awliyas, these are the ones who will be with you. Not only in this world, but on the Day of Judgment. For example, when a person has befriended a friend of Allah or a good person, even if the person is thrown in the hellfire, this friend of Allah, he will say, when he's been instructed to go into the paradise, he won't go. He say, Ya Allah, what about this person? Then eventually Allah will say, okay, you go and get him and bring him out. And then the hellfire won't touch this person. He'll go inside and he'll take the friend that he was with, take him out and take him to paradise. So these are the friends you want. And at the Battle of Yarmouk, there was a companion called Abu Jaham bin Huzaifa radiallahu ta'ala. And while this battle was taking place, he found that he went to look for his cousin who was in the middle of the battle, and he was on the throes of his death. He was on the throes. So he had some water. He went to give him some water to his cousin. And while his cousin was on the throes of his death, there was another soldier next to him, a little bit further away, and he said to him, he groaned, so he knew that he was still alive. He said, take it to him instead of giving it to me. So he went to him. And then when he went to the second companion, the third companion was a little bit further away. Again, there was a little bit of a groan. As the second companion said, take it to the third companion. And the third companion said, no, take it to the second one. So again, he's taking the water, and now he's come back to the second companion. And he's seen that the second companion had passed away. And then he went to his cousin, he'd passed away. And he went to the third companion, they'd all passed away. Now this is the sacrifice that they made for each other, that they give preference to each other, even though if it meant death. These are the friends that you want in your life, that who is willing to sacrifice their life for you to make sure, your hereafter becomes better. The second part, so one is friends, and the second part is money. Will this help on that day? The money that you're earning, will this help? All the hard work that I'm putting in, earning my money, and neglecting the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're earning so much money. Your life is money. The first thing you think about is money. The last thing you go to bed, all you think about is money. Throughout the day, you just think about money all day long. Just money. But in the process, you're not saying your prayers. In the process, you're not helping anybody else. You become like a selfish person who's just hoarding all this money. And the shaitan, he gives false hope. He says, enjoy yourself. You only live once. Enjoy your life. Enjoy the money that you have. Enjoy it. What happens is, majority of the time, the people who are earning good money, the millionaires, whatever, they are like, we call it conjuice. They become conjuice. They're the ones that are not giving the money, even though they have money, and the ones who don't have money, stingy, that's the word. They have become stingy. The ones who hardly have any money, who survive, they're the ones who donate the money. They're the ones who are helping the others. And you can see in this day, who the majority of the people are supporting the deen are the ones who are just like getting by. So now they've got all this money, hoarding it. There was a story once that I read, and it was an old woman. It was about an old woman, and she inherited a lot of money. She was like, she had so much money. At the time when she died, right, her house was like in a very poor condition, and she had hardly any clothes, only the clothes on the back, which was, ripped and whatever. Her shoes were like not even in a fit state to wear. And the food that she was eating was like, thrown away food and stuff like this. Even up to her bodily clothes, they weren't in a fit state for her to wear. But then when they found her bank account, they saw that she had millions and millions of pounds in her account. Millions. Now this, she's not going to spend it. She was too stingy to spend it even on herself. But somebody else is going to spend that money. So yes, there's no harm in earning money and no harm in earning good money as well, as long as it doesn't take you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And secondly, you can donate that money for the hereafter. So then you're building something in the hereafter. The currency of the hereafter is good deeds. So why not just give that money and build something for yourself in the hereafter? So he says, Shaitan, he says, he whispers in our mind, go after the worldly pleasures. And whoever competes with you, destroy them. So he's already giving that message. So you see people are cutting each other off in the workplace or anywhere else. You can see that this person can't see the other person go beyond him. If you see somebody successful, guaranteed somebody will backbite about this person. Or somebody drives a nice car, yeah, he's doing drugs. So, he's doing drugs on the side. What proof have you got he's doing drugs? Automatically it comes out, yeah. Where's he got this car from? He's doing drugs. He's dealing drugs. But these desires, so he whispers, destroy them, ruin their reputation. But these desires that the person has, I want this, I want that, he's earning, it never ends. So when you're young, you have desires, you want something, might want a better education, you want to become a lawyer, a doctor, a pharmacist, a dentist. So these are like desires of education. Then when you have all of this, you want to be married. And then when you're married, you want children. Then you want a nice house. Then you want a better house. You want a nice car, better car, a phone, a better phone. Majority of the people are not happy with what they have. They're always looking for more and more. They're always looking for more. So this person is never satisfied, and that's why he will never find peace in his heart, because he's not appreciative of what he has right now. He's always looking to get more, looking at other people. On Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, this person has this thing and I want to be like this. But these desires are linked to the paradise. Paradise is never ending, and whatever you want, Allah will give it to you. Whatever you desire, Allah will give it to you. Allah will also ask you, would you like anything more? You've already, everything that you wanted, you have been given, and then Allah will even ask, will you have more? But the person who runs after this dunya, he's in a big problem. Because in Hadith Qudsi is we mentioned, give to the one who serves me, you are my slave. Allah is addressing the dunya, give to the one who serves me, you are my slave, and you should become slave to my servant. So Allah is who is instructing the dunya to do this. And whoever does not serve me, punish him. So he's punished by the dunya, enslaving that person. Now the dunya is enslaving this person. And what does that mean? You hear the famous saying, brother, I don't have time. Can you help me? Yeah, brother, but you think I'm very busy. I'm busy at work. I'm busy here. I'm always busy. Busy. Now this person has no blessing in his time. The blessing has been taken away from this person. Why? Because he didn't put Allah first. He put the dunya first. Or the effort. So this person will put effort in his life, but it's a downhill struggle all the time, constantly downhill he's going. Why? Because he didn't put Allah first. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we enslaved in the dunya? That's an easy question for you to ask. You know yourself whether you are enslaved in the dunya or not. Is it the first thing you think about the moment you wake up? Is it the dominating thought throughout the day, and the last thing on your mind when you go to sleep? And the third thing is time. So what was the first thing we mentioned? Can anybody remember? Nobody? So nobody's paying attention. Okay, I'll finish the third one. I'll give you time to think, inshallah. So the third thing is time. Imam Shafi, rahimahullah, mentions two principles of time. So the first one is, time is like a sword. If you don't cut it, it will cut you. And the second is, if you don't busy it with the right, it will busy you with the wrong. So the question we need to ask ourselves, the way I'm spending my time, will this help me on that day? On the day in the grave or on the day of judgment, will this help me? What am I doing with my time? You know, when sometimes we book these holidays and we say, oh, say this is the year 2024, we book a holiday in 2025. When you first book it, you think, oh my God, it's a long time, I just really want to go right now. But anyway, then what you do is you just put it to one side, you don't really think about it. And then before you know it, you've only got a few weeks left to your holiday. Isn't it? That's how quickly the time goes. Now when you go to work, the people who are working, when they go to work, and when they finish that week, the week goes so fast that they think, oh, the week's already gone, the month's already gone, the year's already gone. That's how quickly time is going past. And if you don't make use of that time, then we're going to be the ones who are going to be left out in the hereafter. You can remember your time in school. Not you guys, you're probably still in school. Yeah, but the elders, you know your time in school and how quickly you are is just a moment that you think and you feel, you can feel everything that you did in your school. That feelings is still there because that's how quickly the time will go. So your actions, your time, make sure you look after these things very, very carefully. Not like for hours on end browsing on the social media. Isn't that what we do? There's there's always complaints happening, my wife doesn't do the housework, blah, blah, blah. And this, that, and the other. But sometimes, you can see that they do a little bit here and there, and then suddenly they're on their phones. And then, the time just, without you realizing, the time just goes quickly. And the things you were supposed to do, you don't do. So, for example, somebody might want to do revision because they've got exams. But they might put the book out and they might start a couple of sentences, they revise, or a paragraph, and they think, I need to relax now. And what happens is they give 10 minutes to that, and then they give 2 hours to flicking on the social media because it's so entertaining, isn't it? The shorts. One day you flick through one short, then the second one comes. And the first one is interesting, the second one is even more interesting. Then the third one comes. The people doing something all over the world. And you can just go through it, and you can be entertained. Continuously entertained. And before you know it, 2 hours have gone, 3 hours have gone, 4 hours have gone. Or we're watching a Netflix movie. And it's not one of them that you watch the one movie for 1.5 hours and it's finished. It's one of them series. So then you go through all of the series. There's 20 series in there, and then you eventually you can't stop watching it. So prevention is better than cure. Prevent these things from happening. Give your phone to somebody else, or think, okay, I've got to do these jobs first, and after I've done this job, then I'll spend maybe half an hour on my phone. So put yourself a time limit on. Or even these days, the phones have a time limit where you just after a certain amount, the apps get locked. So you can't go on them anymore. Otherwise, yeah, even at the time of death, you still be scrolling on your social media, what's happening on Facebook, what's happening on Instagram. Say, oh, give me my phone, I want to have a look what's going on in the world. This is what people will do. Is whatever you are practicing here, that's the time, at the time of death, you'll be doing the same thing as well. It's not going to stop, is it? So it's like people say, all right, oh, I'll go Hajj, Umrah, I'll become a changed person. Oh, yeah, I'll practice protecting my eyes here. I'll practice protecting my eyes in Hajj. But at the moment, I'm going to just look anywhere. Oh, then I'll become a changed person. But when they go on Hajj or Umrah, they already, because they've not refrained from it here, they've not practiced it, and they'll be doing the same thing there as well, looking at the opposite gender, looking at haram things. So when a person doesn't have a structure of his time, then the person is confused. He does anything and everything the way he wants. He follows his desires. The desires takes him this way, takes him that way. So their life is a complete mess. They don't know what time to get up, they don't know what time to sleep, they don't know what time to eat. Nothing is just a complete shambles of their life. And they can't make head or tails of it. And before you know, their life comes to an end. So the person should deeply reflect on the last message and try to change while you can, whilst living in this world before it's too late. So change now, not after. Change what you want to change, you change it while living, you change it right now. And this is where it's going to benefit you. So which friends to keep, which we mentioned, there's a summary of it. So mentions who do you want at the time of your death. So when you're dying at that time, which kind of people do you want around you? So do you want the people who are pious and righteous, or do you want a druggie to come and be there at your deathbed and asking him where's the drugs you've hidden? Because that's the only thing he's going to be bothered about. The person who wants the betterment for your hereafter, he'll be giving you, like, he'll saying, oh, don't worry, Allah is merciful. He'll be praying Quran upon you and so forth. He'll be, giving some good nasiyah. So, if you want the righteous people around you at the time of death, then change now. Have the righteous people right now. So then when you die, they are there with you. They are there with you. So all our lives we want, like, some people like druggies and all that, they hang around with them, and then at the time of death, they want pious people to be around them. Just think. So another thing we need to reflect on, what type of action you would like to die with. So just think, what kind of action, so if somebody says, okay, look, how would you like to die? What kind of deeds were you performing? What would you like to perform? And then you would die doing them deeds. So some person might say, well, I want to die in sajda. Many people say that. They say, oh, mashallah, I would like to die in sajda. Then are you performing sajda while you are living? Are you praying your salah? Are you praying the extra nawafils? Are you putting your head onto the ground at the tahajjud time, being with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So if you want to die in sajda, then you have to do the actions that will take you in that position as well. Or any deed. Some might say, I want to die doing dhikr of Allah. Well, are you doing the dhikr while you're alive? Some say, I want to die praying the Quran. Are you praying the Quran while you're alive? So these things you need to adopt right now. And then you'll see, inshallah, that Allah will bless you with that kind of death as well. And what state would you like to die in? The state you want to die, then adopt that state now. The state of repentance. Are you in a constant state of repentance, saying, oh Allah, I'm sorry, this is what I've done. People won't go into the hellfire because of their sins. Because humans do commit sins. It's because they didn't repent. They didn't repent. And then accumulation of sins happened. And this is and Allah didn't forgive this person and this person. But if you repent to Allah every night before you go to sleep or whenever you can remember, then your slate is clean. Imagine that, there's no accumulation of bad deeds, it's just clean every time. Or being in the presence of Allah. If you want to die in the state of being in the presence of Allah, then adopt this now. Bring this into your life, that Allah is with me, Allah is watching me, Allah is hearing me, until it becomes a normality. At the beginning, you might have to force yourself to remember, but then it will become normal. And then you start feeling the presence of Allah more and more and more. So start practicing this. It's like driving, isn't it? You know, when at the beginning, when you're driving, you're looking at everything, the mirrors, the gear stick, where is it? You're very cautious. You know, but then what happens is, once you get used to it, you're eating a sandwich and a drink, and you're just chilling with your one arm on your wheel, and you're just like cruising around. And some even watch movies while they're driving. You know, so that's what will happen. So the more you have the presence of Allah, Allah is with me, watching me, Allah is hearing me, the more you keep on reminding yourself, the more it will develop and it'll become like second nature to you. You know, you won't need to like force yourself to remember, it'll be there. And what place would you like to die in? Final point, inshallah, then we finish. So what place would you like to die in? So if you like to die in the masjid, then come to the masjid on a regular basis. If you like to die in the gatherings of Nasiyah and Dhikr, then come to these gatherings on a regular basis, hoping that one day, you know, this will happen. You know, there's many people that wish to die in Medina Sharif, you know, and even they book their tickets and they're wishing that, you know, I'll die, you know, in Medina Sharif. And like even old people do this as well, you know, but then they come back and then they pass away here. You know, but it's the love that you have of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If you adopt the love and his way, then you might be granted death in Medina Sharif as well. So this is what, if you want something, then you have to do something right now for you to attain that something afterwards. So we might not understand the whole Quran or have time to read it, but focus on the last message. And this can be our means of guidance. So the last message, what we mentioned, is that you will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and fear the day when you shall be brought back to Allah. And every soul will be paid for what it had earned, and none shall be dealt with unjustly. So whatever you are doing, so the ball is in your court, in our court. Whatever we do now will have an effect in the grave and the hereafter. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable all of us to be forgiven and grant us paradise with our teacher and the mashaykhs and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and make our grave a gardens of paradise. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
As Ustadh Shabbir Hassan has mentioned, that now is the time to change. Now the opportunity is here. And now you can change your friendship, the kind of friends you have around you, and have those friends that'll take you close to Allah. You can change the way you spend your time and spend it in a time that can please Allah. And you can use this time also how to spend your money in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Learn how to spend your money in the way that will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if these three things you want to make that change today, then the opportunity is here. Our brother Hassanan will be sat here and he will show you the way. How you can do simple steps but to make a big change. And you can do that right now. So after the majlis, come see myself and I will take you to brother Hassanan and he will show you how you can take that journey. Just a couple of announcements before the Dhikr majlis. We have a couple events coming, and the first event that we have coming up is a special workshop. And as we were talking about the concept of friendship, this actual workshop is about what is true friendship, who are your true friends, and how you can make those friends. And how by building those friends, they will take you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and eventually the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this workshop is actually on 2nd of November, so this Saturday in Leeds, between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. It's a full day interactive workshop, and the cost is £10. So anyone who wants to come, or if you can't come, or do you have any relatives in Leeds, then please notify them, and inshallah this will be a very beneficial interactive workshop for yourselves. So please make an intention to come and invite others to come if yourselves can't come. Secondly, also there'll be an event, a visit your local mosque open day, organized by Seek to Change, and this will be in Oxford Central Mosque. This is going to be on Sunday, November the 10th, between 11:30 and 3. So this is a very unique event, really aimed at non-Muslims, to show them what Islam is truly about, and how Islam is a means of peace in this life and the hereafter. So if you have any relatives or friends in Oxford who are non-Muslims, then please invite them, and inshallah they can benefit from this as well. So now inshallah, just before we go on to the Dhikr gathering, I'd like to ask yourselves, you could just stand up so you can have a little bit of a stretch and let the blood run through your body, and come forward as well please, and just maintain the semicircle as well. Inshallah, so everyone could sit back down, and then we will start the dhikr session. So before we start, just to refresh the etiquettes, that we should refresh our intention, that we're here none other for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to remember the three keys: Allah's watching me, Allah's with me, and Allah's hearing me. So this is a loud dhikr, so you will recite with the one who's reciting those thoughts. As he recites, you will also recite with them, and loud. And this is the time for you to connect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whatever's in your heart, to express it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is your opportunity now. So inshallah, we will start shortly. Jazakallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. مولاي صل وسلم دائما عبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما عبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما عبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما عبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما عبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما عبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. محمد سيد القونين والثقلين. محمد سيد القونين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن عجم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما عبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما عبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما عبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا. فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله 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 حسبي ربي جل الله ما في قلبي غير الله حسبي ربي جل الله ما في قلبي غير الله هير الله حافظ ناصر هير الله حافظ ناصر هير الله إلا 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 الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله 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 إلا الله محمد رسول الله أستغفر الله أستغفر الله أستغفر الله أستغفر الله أستغفر الله الذي أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه وأتوب إليه أستغفر الله أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه وأتوب إليه اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين سبحان رب العلي الوهاب اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام اللهم أعني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, the most merciful Lord, Ya Allah. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, forgive us for all the sins we have committed. Ya Allah, committed from the body, from the mind, from the heart. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Ghafoor Rahim, Ya Allah, forgive the whole Ummah. Forgive the people who are getting punished in the grave, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Forgive the people who have committed sins, Ya Allah. Forgive all of the Muslim Ummah from Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam all the way to the end of times, Ya Rabbal Alameen, to the day of judgment, Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, enable us to do good deeds, Ya Allah. Enable us to do things that please you. Ya Allah, enable us to have good friendship. Ya Allah, enable us to do things and not make our priority the dunya. Ya Rabbal Alameen, Ya Malik Yawmiddin. Ya Allah, whatever we have done, the Dhikr, the Azkars, the Nasiyah, Ya Allah, we'd like to send the reward upon the beloved Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, upon the parents of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, upon the family of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, upon the companions of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and upon the whole Ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, whoever is suffering, wherever they are, Ya Allah, ease their suffering, Ya Allah. Whoever has any health issues, any financial issues, any worries whatsoever, Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, help them, Ya Allah. Help the people of Palestine and Kashmir and wherever they are in Burma, wherever they are suffering, Ya Allah, ease their suffering, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Allah, bless our teacher, Ya bless all the Mashaykhs, all the Turuks, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, guide us to the closeness of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Enable us to walk upon the footsteps, upon the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.